morning, all. Today is January 27th. I am officially on my in the middle of doing my 34-hour reset, and I just got off the phone with our operations support team, going over some issues that I'm having, and I wanted to share that with you all because it might be an issue that come up that you might have, and I'm going to also at the end go over some ways that I'm going to try to get a hold of it, because it is an issue that could cause serious problems financially and to my CDL that I don't want to happen, because right now my CDL is literally my career, and I don't want anything detrimental to happen to that. So the issue that I'm talking about, and the issue that I'm kind of having a problem with, the thing that I'm having a problem with is my time. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about, remembering time or anything like that. I'm talking about the hours of service time. Your CDL time, like when you get your CDL, you start driving. It's very regulated. This industry is very regulated. You have a certain amount of time you can be on within a week, a certain week, a day. You have an amount of time you have to take breaks within. So all of this is regulated, and it could be, to me, or for me, and it might be to a few of you all as well. It could be a little bit. You have to make it a habit, or else it'll be detrimental to you. So this is what I'm talking about. So in CDL school, no, not CDL school, in driving, the government has mandated you have an 8-day work week. An 8-day work week is a rolling 8-day work week. So if today is Monday or today is Sunday, they'll be looking back to last Saturday. Not last Saturday, but the Saturday before last, and your next 8 days are going to next Monday, right? So you got an 8-day rolling work week. Within that 8 days, past or future, you have 70 hours to work within that 8 days. 70 hours. That's it. I'm not saying 70 hours to drive. I'm saying 70 hours to work on duty time. And now what does that mean, right? So let me show you. Okay. So you got your 70 time, right? That's what we were talking about. You got your 70 time, your 70-hour work week time. You got that to work within 8 days. That means once you go on duty, every second that you're on duty, whether it's driving, driving, uncoupling, coupling, backing into a dock, whatever. Every on duty time that you log takes away from that 70-hour work week, right? Then you got your 14 hours. Your 14 hours, Judge, and that's this right here. Your 14 hours, Judge, will tell you how much time do you have left within that day. You can only be on duty for 14 hours during that day. And and it works a little bit different, because whereas the 70 hours will stop once you come off duty, once you go off duty, your 14 hours will tick down continuously until it hits 0. At the start of your day, whenever you go on duty to do your pre-trip or whatever, training, pre-trip, whatever, it will tick down until it hits 0. It will not stop, even if you go off duty, even if you walk away from your truck to go inside the store, you're off duty. It doesn't matter. As soon as you log on duty at the beginning of the day, it will tick down to 0. There. And now you have your 11 hours. Your 11 hours is your drive time. You have 11 hours during the day to drive. You just have 11 hours. You got 11 hours to drive. There's no more, no less than that. You can be on the road for 11 hours. And so what does that tell you? So you got 11 hours to drive. You got 14 hours to be on duty. You could you could really make that work. You can drive 11 hours. That's a lot, but you could drive 11 hours and then still have 3 hours of on-duty time to, say, find a parking spot, to get to back into a dock, to couple. You got 3 hours, but that's really cutting it close. Typically what you want to do, and typically what Schneider asks you for, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into it, but they want you to be driving for at least 7 hours. At least 7 hours there. They want you to be around working 8 hours a day, and that's driving and and on duty time. Just 8 hours a day. And what that would do is, right, what's 8 times 8? That's 64. Well, now you've worked 64 hours into a day, into a work week. For us, it's 8 hours. It's 8 days per week. You work 64 hours a day. You still got time left over in your 70. And I'm going to get into how that benefits you. But to continue on, so now you've got 11 hours to drive. You got this next one, this 8 hours. It says 30 minutes DOT. That means within your first 8 hours of driving, you have to take a 30-minute break, a full 30-minute break within the first 8 hours that you drive. Once you could start driving for 1 minute. You could drive for 4. Well, okay. So what's 11? Okay, so if you could drive for a full 8 hours and then take your 30-minute break, without going over. You could do that. Some people drive for 4 hours, take a 30-minute, drive for another 4 hours, take a 30-minute. You're the captain of your ship, but it's just telling you within the first 8 hours, you have to take a 30-minute break. And then it's not real beneficial to you if you take one within the first 3 hours. Why? Because 11 minus 8 is 3. So if you take, let's say, I get on the road, I drive for an hour, and I decide to take a 30-minute break. Well, in another 8 hours, because I still got 9 hours, right, to drive within the day. I've only driven for 1 hour, so I still got 9 hours. That means you cannot drive 8 hours, more than 8 hours, without taking a 30-minute break. That's the right way to say it. You cannot drive more than 8 hours without taking a 30-minute break. So that's that time. Yeah. So that's the 30. That's telling you cannot drive more than 8 hours within a day without taking a 30-minute break. The 11 hours is saying you cannot drive more than 11 hours in a day. The 14 hours is saying you have 14 hours to do your entire work day, whether that's driving, whether that's training, on duty, coupling, uncoupling, whatever it is. As soon as you go on duty, the first thing in the morning, it will start ticking down. The 70 hours is saying you have 8 days and you have 70 hours within that work day or within that work week to complete your work. It's a rolling thing, and I'm going to explain that in a second. So let's talk about starting from the 8 hours. Let's starting from the DOT time. How do you get this time back? How do you get your time back? Because it'll tick down, right? So, of course, the 30-minute DOT time. How do you? Let's say it's at 1. Let's say it's at 1 hour and 43 minutes, just like my 70 hours is currently. How do I get that back? Well, all I got to do is pull over into a truck stop, pull over into a rest area. Do not pull over on the side of the street. Pull over into, they have, in the north, they call them tech stops. They don't have bathrooms or anything, but you can pull over in there. Pull over wherever it's safe for you to do so, and take a 30-minute break. That'll give you another 8-hour clock as long as you have 8 hours left, at least 8 hours left within your workday. If you only have, let's say you drove for 6 hours, right? So you only got 5 hours left to drive, depending on your 11-hour work clock. You only got 5 hours left to drive. Then once you do your 30 minutes, it's going to build up. It's going to go up to 5 hours. It's only going to go up to what you... Actually, I'm sorry. That's wrong. It's going to show 8 hours, but you don't have 8 hours to drive. Like you got to go off of this. Then you got to go. It's going to show 8 hours here, but you only have 5 hours to drive there. All right. So to get that back, to get your 8 hours driving time back, you have to do 30 minutes, a 30-minute break wherever it's safe. Wherever it's safe for you to pull over, do so. Stay there for 30 minutes. Take your break. Take a nap. And then you'll get your time back. Your 11 hours works a little differently. So, like I said, it's the amount of time you have to drive within a day. Okay? Well, that's the amount of time that I have to drive within a day. How do I get that back? Let's say it's at 1 hour and 43 minutes. That's when I decide to cut it down. Shut it off for the night. How do I get it back? I have to be off duty for 10 hours straight. In my sleeper cab, off duty. I have to be off duty, right? To do that. To get my 11 hours back, I have to be off duty for 10 hours straight. All right, so that's pretty straight and simple. The same thing actually works with your 14 hours. To get your 14 hours back, you have to be off duty for 10 hours. To get your 14-hour clock back, your 14-hour work day, you have to be off duty for for at least 10 hours to get that 14 hours back. And that really governs your day. Your 14 hours is really the governor of your entire day. Yeah, your 11 hours tell you when to drive. Your 8 hours tell you when to take a 30-minute break. But your 14 hours is telling you only got 14 hours from the time that you go on duty. I really think that's the most important one. Driving one, I mean, not a lot of people, unless they're pushing it and they really care about their 7 and they don't really care about their 70 or they working it. A lot of people, won't hit that 11 hours. You won't drive 11 hours in a day. Like that's a lot. Typically it's around 9 or 8 in there. But yeah, your 14 hours, I believe, is one of your most important because it tells you, all right, you only have 14 hours in a day to work. All right, now you got your 70 hours. All right, now this is really different. Okay, so you only got 70 hours within a work day or within a work week to work. How do I get my 70 hours back? All right, so that's what I mean by I'm doing my 34-hour reset. You have to be off duty, and whether that's in and this is what I mean when I say off duty or sleeper. Right. So these are my statuses. I can be off duty. I can be in my sleeper, meaning I'm in my truck. I can be driving. I can be on duty. And then there's a yard move. We'll talk about that. But those are my statuses. When I am off duty or in my sleeper, I'm off duty. I have to be off duty or in my sleeper for at least 34 hours for me to get my full 70 hours back. That's the only way that I can get my full 70 hours back. Now, there's a such thing called a recap. Now, I told you before, there's an 8-day work week. Well, it's rolling, right? So if it's rolling, that means, it's going to, that 70 hours, that hour and 43 minutes, right, is not going to be an hour and 43 minutes continuously because the 8 days is continuously moving up as the days go on. What I mean is, let me look over here. All right, so 8 days back was the 20th. Was the what is it, January, 8 days back today would be, because today's the 27th, would be on the 19th, but I didn't drive on the 19th. I actually started driving on the 20th. So, or I actually started working on the 20th. So on the 20th, going back tomorrow at midnight will be, like the 20th will fall off. So it'll fall off. And that means I get that 10 hours and 6 minutes and 17 seconds added back to my 70-hour clock. I know I'm trying to make this as easy as possible to understand, but this is my 8 days. This is my previous previous 8 days, including today. As you can see, I'm on my 34 hours here. Today is the 27th. Today is the 27th. I haven't worked any because instead of working off my recap, meaning I could continuously drive, and that's why they want you to work 8 to 9 hours, because if you work 8 to 9 hours every day, well, if you work 8 hours every day, up to 8 hours every day, then you will only hit 64 hours, and you won't ever have to worry about your clock, your 70-hour work clock anyways. Well, if you only work 8 hours a day, you won't have to worry about your 30-minute clock. You won't have to worry about your DOT clock, your 11-hour DOT clock, or your 14-hour clock. You won't have to worry about any clock here if you work 8 hours a day. It's just 8 hours a day. You won't have to worry about the recap, because you're only hitting the very minimum that you can hit, or the maximum that you can hit, without having to worry about any of those 4 clocks. But if you were working off your recap there, then I would know that while I only have an hour and 43 minutes here now, I will at midnight get back 10 hours and 6 minutes and 17 seconds, because that's what I worked on the 20th, and now it's not in my recap anymore. Your recap is your previous 8 days. At the end of it, it's going to fall off and it's going to give me that time back. Then on the next day, let's say, I hadn't completed my 34. On the next day, I would have gotten back 5 hours and 47 minutes, which it shows right here. It says hours gained back tomorrow at midnight, and then in 2 days. It's a rolling 8 weeks, guys. It's a rolling 8 weeks. I get that's the amount that's how you get your 70 hours. To get your full 70 hours, you need to be off duty for 34 hours. If you want to work off your recap, meaning, okay, I want to keep moving, I don't ever want to have to sit down for 34 hours. Well, this is how you do it. You're going to have to know previously. Okay, I worked 8 days ago. This is how many hours I worked. At midnight, this is how many hours I'm going to get back, because that's how many hours I worked. Now, if you didn't work anything, like that 5 hours or 47 minutes, it was snowing, and I had to cut it down, that hurts you in the long run, because if you were working off your recap, that's how much it is giving me back. That's how much it's giving me back there. So I'm not working off my recap, or right now. I'm going to be going forward, because that's what I'm working on doing. So I wanted to show you guys that, because that's the problem that I have. As you can see, as you saw, I only had an hour and 43 minutes, a little under 2 hours left on my 70. Well, my 14 hours have been giving me trouble. Why? I mean, I could throw excuses out there. I'm not. It's just time management, pre-planning. Like, if you get your pre-assignment, if you come to Schneider, or even if you're driving, whatever, pre-plan your trip. Understand how long it's going to take. Estimate how long it's going to take for you to get to this spot. Do you want to use the gas station here? All right, I'm only going to, while I'm there at the gas station, do I want to build back up my driving time, my 8-hour driving time, take 30 minutes off while I'm there? Go ahead and knock 2 birds out with 1 stone. There, when I get there, how long does it take to load? Is it a live unload? Meaning that they're unloading it and you have to wait there at the dock. Is it a live load? Meaning they got to load it while you sitting there waiting at the dock. Do you have to drop and hook? Take all this into consideration. Know that from the time that you start your clock in the morning or in the evening, whenever you drive, you only have 14 hours. You only will have 14 hours to complete what you need to complete in that day. That's very important. That's what's been getting me. My 14 hours. It's not my drive time, which is kind of, it's kind of impossible. It's not impossible. It's just weird. I don't know. Like, it's not my drive time or anything like that that's been killing me. It's just my 14 hours. But from what I'm going to do, and I'm going to give you the tips that I'm going to do, I'm going to utilize. I'm going to put some sticky notes. For one, okay, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to get a clock. I'm going to get a stopwatch, and I'm going to I'm going to find some way to stick it I'm about to go to Walmart. I'm gonna find a clock and I'm gonna stick it in clear view, and it'll tick down to my it'll tick down to a certain time. That way I know. Sorry, that's my phone. That way I know like where I am in that day. I mean, of course I have the time here, but you sometimes forget. When you start a day, like the day just goes on and on and on. And you can sometimes forget, and you can't look at your tablet. You shouldn't be anyways, but while you're driving, you definitely can't look at your tablet because it limits you. So I'm gonna get that, a little stopwatch or something, and stick on in clear view so I can just look at it and know where I am. I'm gonna place little sticky notes also in clear view. I can just not staple them, but clear tape them onto my little dashboard saying uncoupling, coupling, or something like that, to the effect of that, to be on duty doing that, but off duty. If I'm just waiting for them to live unload or live load, I'm off duty doing that. I'm off duty doing like anything that's not related to work. Be off duty. That won't conserve your 14, but it'll help you with your driving time as well. Also, to pre-trip, I mentioned before, it's very important to do a pre-trip, but make sure your pre-trip is long enough. If you log in, and this is another issue I've been having. I've been doing my pre-trip, but it's only doing it. It'll be like 5 minutes in there. It'll only show that I did a pre-trip for 5 minutes. I know I did longer, but I didn't do it on the clock. And so now I got to, or begin to do it on the clock. And the reason being is, say a DOT officer stopped me. I give him my logbook, which is my tablet. I give it to him, and he says, "Oh, Brian, I see that you did a pre-trip this morning." Yes, sir, I did. I did a pre-trip. He says, "Oh, okay. Well, it only took you 5 minutes to do that pre-trip." Now, this is where my heart drops, because I know it didn't take me 5 minutes to do my pre-trip, but my log is telling him a different story. And that's the important thing. Only the log story matters. He doesn't care. That DOT officer won't care if, whatever you had to do. If that log says you did a pre-trip in 5 minutes, he's going to say, okay. Well, and if that's the case, he's going to say, well, you automatically going to get a citation, because he knows that an air brake test takes at least 6 minutes. Now, if you say, all right, well, if it has 10 minutes in there, he's going to say, okay, go ahead and do a pre-trip. If it takes longer than 10 minutes, then you're going to get a citation, because now it's taking you longer to do stuff than what's in the logbook. And now he knows, okay, he must have didn't do a proper pre-trip this morning on his truck. It's very important. So I'm going to put up here pre-trip 20 minutes. At minimum, 20 minutes pre-trip every day. Every day I'm a staple. Not staple. I don't know why. I was watching the Staples commercial. I'm a tape minimum 20 minutes pre-trip. I'm a tape 14-hour workday. I'm gonna have a little clock ticking down, tell me my time. I got your tablet would also show in the corner here for the people working for Schneider. Let me see. Let me bend it down. This is it's very hard to do. Here, let me see. Okay, in the corner, right there, it'll show you the time that you have left. It'll show you your lowest time. Give me 1 second. It'll show you your lowest time left, and you can it'll tell you that at least while you're driving, but it won't tell you anything else. But that's what I'm going to do to help me out. I need to have some kind of visual reminder. 20 minutes at minimum pre-trip there, and you can, you always want to be on duty when you pre-trip. I'm also tape on there to remind myself to go to sleeper when I'm asleep in the cab, or if I'm like live unload or live load. Another thing that the DOT officer. So when you're off duty and you're not working, that means you're not in your cab, you're not in your truck, but you're off duty. If a DOT, let's say I went off duty on my status, instead of going sleeper, like when I went off duty for the end of the day, because I typically sleep in my truck. I don't go to a hotel and waste money unless need to, but I typically sleep in my truck, right? But let's say I went off duty, I got stopped by the DOT officer. He looks at it, he says, "Oh, okay, so you went off duty last night at such and such time." I'm like, "Yes, sir, I did. I went off duty." He's like, "Okay, where's your hotel receipt?" "Huh? Where's your hotel receipt?" I slept in my truck." That ain't what that says. That says you was off duty. That didn't say you were in your sleeper. And I get a citation for falsifying logs, and for falsifying logs and something else. But I definitely falsifying logs. Make sure if you're in your sleeper cab and you're off duty, put sleeper. If you're off duty and you're in a hotel, put off duty. You can put in the remarks there, hotel. And I'll go over, for the people that want to know a little bit more about your tablet, I'll go over that in another video. But just keep those things in mind. That's what I'm going to do. Just put some sticky notes, because that's what helped me remember stuff. It might be different for you, but I need a visual representation or something like that. But that's what I'm going to go be doing. That's what I'm going to go be doing today. No, that's what I'm going to be doing today. Going to Walmart, cleaning up my truck a little bit. This is what I mean, cleaning up my truck. You see, up there, I got all my clothes. I did laundry last night, and I literally just threw them up there, and have been neglecting putting those up for the past week. So I gotta put those up, clear out my truck, get some Post-it notes, and start tidying up. I'm gonna leave early in the morning. I'll talk with you then. All right.